Hi folks, and welcome back to the channel. So if you're new to our channel, welcome. My wife Jennifer and I, we retired in the summer of 2021 and we moved out here to beautiful Maine on our 60 acres to start our homesteading journey off-grid. Now some of you folks might be wondering why we haven't posted a video in the last, 3 weeks, month or so. Well, it's quite simple. There's really two reasons. Number one, we have been so busy around here on the homestead getting ready for, well, winter. And the second reason really is that we needed a break. Just like anything else that you're doing, when you're doing it a lot, every so often you do need a break. And frankly, given the time of year, we figured this would be the best time for us to kind of step back from the videoing because there is a lot of time and energy and effort put into that and really focus on getting the homestead ready for the winter. Now, this will be our second winter here in Maine, and so we wanted to make sure that we covered all of the bases that we needed to get done, in addition to making sure that we didn't make the same mistakes going into this winter as we did last winter. Now that said, we have done an enormous amount of work lately, and we'd like to share all of that with you. We're going to take you guys for a walk. We're going to show you what's going on here on the homestead, kind of bring everybody up to speed with where we're at. And Jen and I really appreciate all of the love and support that we have gotten from you, our viewers. And so we do hope that you folks understand, with us taking a little break, it had nothing to do with, walking away or anything negative. It was really just us bearing down, getting things done, getting ready so that we could come back refreshed and get ready for this winter. Because I am telling you this, we have got a lot of plans for this winter, and we are so excited to share them all with you. We've got a lot of firsts coming up and a lot of new experiences coming up, and so we could not be any more excited or happy to share it with you folks. So in one of the last couple of videos we made, we had shown that we used to have a canopy here, a canopy we purchased from Harbor Freight. Well, unfortunately, Mother Nature had other plans for it. It blew over and it was an absolute catastrophe. It was completely destroyed. So we had to make a decision on what we were going to do with our equipment, with trailers, with all of our stuff. And so after some careful consideration, we came up with a couple of solutions. And so that's what we really focused on for about a week. And we're still kind of in that process. But let me show you what we're doing. So this is the second canopy that we have, and this one here we purchased a couple years ago. We set it up. Again, it is a 10 by 17 we purchased from Harbor Freight. The difference between this one and the new one that failed is a lot. This one here is a lot more sturdier. It's built with nuts and bolts, and it withstood last winter. Now we did have to do a few things for this winter. For instance, we added these tarps to it. I also added a brace in the center just to make sure that nothing fails this winter. Now, like last winter, we do plan on keeping this roof clean, and so we don't suspect we're going to have many issues with this. Now that said, we did need to figure out a solution to where we were going to put a lot of our outdoor stuff that we had intended on having in the new canopy. Well, what we ended up doing was cleaning out this canopy here, and we were able to fit the majority of our stuff in here. So we've got our lawnmower, snow blower, and some other equipment in here to help protect it from the snow. Now, unfortunately, our ATVs, we don't have a home for yet, but I do have a plan for that, and we'll see if I can get that done here in the next few weeks. But again, to solve the problem we had with where we were going to put some of that equipment, this worked out to be great. Now, in order to get that cleaned, we also had to get our shop cleaned and our trailer cleaned. Now, during that process, we made some changes to how we were using these buildings. And I'll be honest, we have found that we have to make adjustments and kind of change things up quite a bit because, again, we're trying to establish all of our infrastructure right now. and sometimes our first choices don't actually work out. A case in point was the canopy. So during the summer, one of our projects was to actually build a woodshed here, and we did. And the purpose of that woodshed was so that we could put wood in here, so while I was working in the shop during the winter time, the building would be warm. Well, during this whole process of cleaning things up, we realized that this cabin was going to be better used as storage, and so that's what we've done. So we actually ended up tearing this down, we moved all of the wood, and we started converting this into our storage unit, which is actually should have been the first thing that we did, but again, we didn't know. We didn't know we would be in the situation we are in right now. So we just had to kind of adjust and make some changes, and that's exactly what we did. So every homestead needs a shop, and unfortunately, my original plan of having that first cabin become my shop didn't work out. And so in lieu of that, this shed became my shop. Now this shop is a small building, but it will work. We have already got most of my equipment in there, my workbenches and things of that sort. The shop will be powered by solar and by generators, depending on what my electrical needs are at the time. This is a project that we'll be working on relatively soon here, so stick around for that video as we wire this up and get this building operational. One of the biggest improvements we've made is burying our water line from our well to the cabin. This tank here behind me is the holding tank that we used for the last year and through all of last winter. Now if you go back and watch videos last winter when we had all of our water issues, you'll see that this tank here was in our little holding tank shed that I had built next to the cabin. Well, now that we're not using that as our holding tank and our water shed, we've used that as our wood shed. So let's go take a look at that. So in the summer of 2021, I built this little shed here to hold our holding tank and our 12-volt pump, and also all of the solar that would be powering that pump. Well, now that we've buried our water lines, we no longer needed this as a watershed, so we turned it into our woodshed. So we can hold probably just under a quart of wood in here, maybe a little less than that still. But what really makes this useful for us is that I can fill this shed up, and it'll give us about a month's worth of wood. We don't have to continue to go back and forth like we did last year to the woodshed, and we no longer have the V's full of wood, and those we had to fill up about once a week or once every 2 weeks. Now we can fill this up one time, spend a couple hours doing that, and have more than enough wood for the cabin for that time frame. So how is the outdoor kitchen doing during its first winter? Well, it's doing awesome. With the weather being the way that it is, we no longer are worried about flies. That problem has kind of resolved itself. Everything that it was supposed to do during the winter time, it is doing, so much so that we have now moved our freezers in here, and so those are now protected and not out here in the weather. Furthermore, we had to get power out here, so what we ended up doing is installing a power line. Now this post here is a cedar pole that we cleaned up. We put polyurethane up on the top, and then the bottom that's in the ground, also held by 80 pounds of cement. We used the oil and diesel mixture to help protect that as well. We ran power from the cabin over to the outdoor kitchen. Now we do have plans to do some cute things on here. We will be putting some signs up here, I think, and kind of decorate it a little bit. We'll see what happens as time goes on. Another critical build this past summer was our GPS, or our power shed. Now the GPS is an 8x12 insulated shed, specifically to house all of our solar equipment and also a little bit of storage. The panels have been now moved in their winter position, and they'll stay like this till probably April. Now this shed is heated. We have a 22,000 BTU propane wall heater mounted inside, and we keep the temperature in that shed about 71 degrees. Sometimes it does fluctuate from 69 to 74. Surprisingly, it doesn't use as much propane as one might think. With the shed being as small as it is, once it gets to temperature, that wall heater really just stays lit with its pilot and keeps that building quite warm. We've gotten down to the low teens and it's had no issues so far. The other benefit, and I have talked about this in other videos, the other benefit to having this shed here is I can now go into the shed and I can manage and conduct maintenance on the batteries, monitor the system, and do anything that I might need to do to it throughout the winter. If you've been watching our channel, you'll know that last winter was quite hard for us in terms of conducting any maintenance and managing our batteries. We had an outdoor shed. It was really more of a chest where we had our batteries in, and when the snow came, it was almost impossible to get into that thing, and so we really weren't able to do much maintenance, if any at all, and that was a real disservice to the batteries. With having this shed in place, it's a different story this year. So the other thing we've been able to do is get all of our sleds running. Now we have 3 of them. These 2 are the main ones that we'll be using. We do have a third one that's, it's kind of in and out. It does start, it does run. We may not use much of it this year. We'll see. Last year, unfortunately, we didn't have our sleds until January. So this year we've got a lot of plans with the use of these sleds. So stick around for those. So one of the bigger projects we worked on these past few weeks is that we used to have a canopy here. Now that canopy, we use that for everything. It was a 10 by 20 canopy. We did all of our cooking in there. We used it for storage. It became kind of a catch-all of crap, if you will. And honestly, even though it was an eyesore out in front of the cabin, it was really essential to us being able to function out here last winter and even during the summertime. Where my truck is parked is where we had the canopy, and honestly, we're so much happier now that we've been able to get this thing torn down. The plan has always been to park the vehicles right in front of the cabin. Makes it very easy for us when we're coming in and out of the cabin. We've got to go somewhere. For a little while there, we were parking up on our gravel pad. We're not doing that anymore. And so getting rid of that canopy definitely was a huge plus for us, and a project that was always on the list of projects to do. And so now that it's done, it's just great. It makes the front yard look much more open, and it's going to really give us an opportunity to clean off the snow this winter as opposed to last year, because now I don't have all that. I don't have that canopy. But the question then becomes, do we still have the canopy? Of course we do. We needed someplace to do our cooking. We need someplace to put stuff out here, out of the weather. And more importantly, we need someplace to put all of our cooking wood. So basically what we did is we took that 20-foot section of canopy, we cut it in half, and we moved the hardware over so that we could strengthen the canopy. And what I mean by that is this upright pole here used to go all the way to this upright pole with nothing in the center. And what happened last winter was that one side actually collapsed. And so I had to use a 2x6 and shove it underneath it to kind of hold the top up. What we did to help prevent that this year is I actually took the hardware from the other side of the canopy, spliced it into this, and now as opposed to having 10-foot section spans, now we only have 5. I also added some strapping here to help. And honestly, so far with the snow that we've had, this thing has functioned beautifully. Now, prior to it getting really cold and us turning on our wood stove, we were doing all of our cooking in here. We've got our burners here, we've got our little oven, and we have our grill. Now, I do still grill We do love grilling in the winter time, so we're going to keep that in here, keep that going all winter long. The other thing that we're doing in here is storing all of our cook wood stove. Now the cook wood stove is much smaller than the wood that we would use for our warming and heating the cabin. These are just little pieces here. We do have to split them all, but it allows Jen to do the cooking and control the heat a lot better. So if you have wood cook stoves, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. If you don't have wood cook stoves, think of it like your little gas knob. If you need to heat up your stove, you turn it on, turn it up a little higher. If we need to heat up our oven, then what we do is just throw a little piece of wood in there. So one of the biggest things we've accomplished here in the last several weeks is we had to rebuild our pig coop. The reason we had to rebuild our pig coop, well, because we've got pigs. Last year we had one pig, and he was a great addition to the homestead. This year we have two. They're not both for us. We've got some really good friends of ours here, and we are going to raise a pig for them and then a pig for us. So it kind of works out great for us because having two pigs is much better than having one for warmth, companionship reasons. And so this is going to be a great season for us with the pigs because we really enjoyed raising pig last year. Now, unlike last year, though, we used a wooden pen. This year we have a fence pen and we're using electric fence. Now, we'll talk more about this in a later video. Basically, we have three strands. We have this one here, which is our bottom one, and that one is currently hot. Then we have one just above it, and as it begins to snow, we'll change the hot wire from this one to this one. And if the snow gets really bad, then we have this one up here, and then we can turn that one on as well. We don't want the fence wire to get under the snow, so I did have to manage that during the last snowstorm, but we'll keep an eye on it. Being new homesteaders comes with a set of challenges when it comes to livestock. We have no idea what we're doing. But with that said, last year we had pig. We learned an enormous amount of raising the pig during that time, and we've been able to incorporate a lot of that with these pigs. Everything from how we store the food to how we store the hay to how we manage the frozen water, and then also into the with regards to the fencing. In order for us to have two pigs, what we needed to do is expand our pig pen, the pen that they're actually in right now. And so the last pen that we had fit the pig that we had, one pig, very comfortably, and it was great. Unfortunately, it just wasn't going to cut it for having two pigs. Now, in our last video, we tore down the first building that we ever built on the homestead, but we were able to salvage the roof of that. And so we used the roof of our old well shed for the roof on the pig pen. Check this out. But you guys will get to see a lot more of the pigs here in later videos. Another project that we had to get done is get our snow fence up. Now last year we put this snow fence up here, and I cannot tell you how impressed I was with its function. It created a heck of a mound of snow in front of it. Now if you're not familiar with snow fences, you'll usually see them in farming areas where there's big expansive fields. Folks will put them up to help break the snow, and what it does is it prevents snowdrift on your road. Now this year we were able to get I think we got 230 feet of snow fence up. Unfortunately I ran out of fence posts, so I did want to get this area here done, but unfortunately with the garden and other projects we had, we just don't have any more of these fence posts. So we're gonna have to go with what we have for this winter. Over the next year I'm gonna try to get some more, but with the ground freezing, even if I did get some right now, chances are I'd have a heck of a time trying to get the post in the ground. So for right now, this snow fence is the best we're gonna do, and honestly, I think that it's gonna work great. With me plowing this year, I wanna make sure that I can do everything I can to help keep the snow off of the road, and putting this fence up will certainly do that. So now that I've showed you guys what we've been doing around here on the homestead, I'm gonna have to gas these guys up. I'm getting really cold, so I'm gonna head inside. But before I do that, I did want to give you guys another update on a couple of other things not project related. First thing is Jen. Jen, if you don't know, had a pretty severe accident last December with our wood splitter. She hurt her hand, specifically her ring finger. That said, it has been 11 months since the accident. Over the summer, Jen has done an enormous amount of physical therapy and has really been buckling down in the last couple of months. The great news is that we did see a specialist. Unfortunately, she doesn't need to have surgery on her finger. With all of the rehab she's been doing and all the therapy, she has gotten such high remarks from not only the therapist but also the doctor that I believe we're just about out of the woods. So I thank God that that she's doing well, and I just want to send a special thank you to all of you who have sent your love and support for her, not only at the time of her injury but all the time since then. So Jen is doing really, really good. She's got all of her strength back, and yeah, we're looking forward to an awesome winter. We also wanted to give you an update on our cat Sue. Yes, little kitty cat Sue has been changed for life. We took him up and he got himself cut, so we don't have to worry about him running away from the homestead once he starts coming outside. So being neutered will help prevent the cat from running away looking for females. Now, we don't have a lot of cats out here that we've seen, but they are out there, and we didn't want him running around taking off for days or weeks at end, and so getting him neutered was the best option to make sure that we could manage him here at the homestead. So, okay, with all of that said, Jen and I, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much for all of your love and support. Holidays coming up this week, so we do hope that everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving. For us, this is probably the best time of year. We love the winter, we love the snow, we love not having bugs, and so we are looking forward to sharing all of these awesome experiences and journeys that we are going to be embarking on this winter with you folks. So thanks for watching and sticking around for this video. If you haven't already done so, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you folks on the next video.
Heading up the west coast in the morning to find a place where no one knows our faces or our names.